In this video, I'm going to discuss CSS selectors. Is how to use CSS selectors in web page development, right? Okay, the first selector is ID, or we call ID attribute, right? So the ID attribute specify a unique ID for an HTML element, right? So that is the value of the ID attribute must be a unique, or we call name of the ID attribute must be unique within the HTML document, right? So by using ID attribute, we can define special style for a HTML element, especially for an one HTML element, right? So let's see how to define ID. So always that ID starting from hash symbol, right? So you have to put the hash symbol, and then we can set the ID name, all right? So this name should be unique within the HTML document, right? So then we can set any CSS property, color. So in here I set the color and the text alignment. Color, the value is red, so you know how to assign the color. So by using a colon symbol, and then I assign sent as a text alignment, and then I close the ID style block, right? Here this is the para1 style. So here I design, I define this CSS properties as a block of this para1 attribute. All right. Okay. So inside the block, right? So this is the here we use the curly bracket for opening the block, and then close the curly bracket for closing the block, right? Okay. So let's see how to add this ID attribute into the HTML element, right? So this is how we add this ID attribute into HTML element. So in here we use the p tag or paragraph tag or paragraph element. So inside the paragraph elements, we can add that ID as a attribute. ID is attribute. Then here we can set ID name, right? So here name is para1, right? The name is para1, right? So ID starting from the hash symbol, but the name is para1. So this hash specifies this is ID, right? Then ID equal the para1. So that is the ID. And then these CSS properties are applied to this particular paragraph. So let's see how to do this in example. All right. So I have already created some web pages for CSS selectors, right? So we can save the time by using the already created web pages. Now you know how to create web page. So in here uh, here I have a level 1 heading and two paragraphs, right? So let's see the source code. Right click, open with Notepad, right? So this is my source code, all right? So you know this is the define the document and then root element, crossing root element, and then header section. So I put ID attribute as a title, and then level 1 heading. So that is the University of Peradeniya, and then there are two paragraphs, right? So here I'm going to define this ID attribute. So here I'm going to use internal CSS. All right. So you know how to write internal CSS, right? So we can use style tag. All right. So within the style tag, we can define ID hash para say one, and then I define a set of CSS properties within para1 block. All right. So first one is color. Say color is say red, and then the text alignment, text dash align. All right, so that is say justify. All right, or set or whatever. All right, then I add this attribute into first paragraph. So here inside the paragraph element, there is the attribute called ID. Then I assign it this ID attribute, say para1, and save this. All right, then I can refresh the web page. Right, so here. All right, so now you can see these formattings are, so these CSS formattings are applied to the paragraph. All right, so if you want, we can add the border. So, right, so let's see, if you want, we can add the border. Right, so border, say first one is a pixel, 2 pixel, that is width, and then say style, maybe dotted, and then say the border color. All right. So likewise, right. So likewise, we can add so many things in um, ID block, right? So here this is the ID block. Okay. So that's about the ID attribute, right? Okay. So then next one is the uh, class attribute. Class attribute. So actually, the class selector select the HTML element within a specific class attribute. All right. So that means we can define style for a special type of elements. All right. Not for the element. We can define special type of elements. Right. So we can define style for a special type of elements. Right. So that means more than one element. Right. So we can define different style for elements with a specific class. All right. So that is a specific class can be written uh, using the period character we call dot symbol, right? Then the followed by the class name, right? In ID attribute, starting from the hash symbol followed by ID name, right? So here the class name cannot start with a number, right? So for example, so let's see. So here class always starting from dot symbol, right? So, ID starting from hash symbol, then dot, and then the class name, center. And then here we open the curly bracket and then set the color, all right? And then here we set the background color as well, right? So this is the font color, background color is yellow, and then the border, right? So this is the our class, right? Then we can add the class attribute to the HTML element, right? So this is the center, that's the class attribute. Then uh, there's the name of the class, right? So inside the paragraph element, we can set the class attribute, right? So then the center is the class attribute, and then we can use the same class for multiple HTML elements, or we call multiple HTML elements can share the same class, right? Okay, let's see, right? So even we can use this for the headers as well, right? Okay, then in here I have example, right? Okay, this one, then I got the same uh, web page with the different name. This is 2.html, then this is the source code, right? So this is the source code. This is level 1 heading and then two paragraphs, right? Level 1 heading and two paragraphs. So now I'm going to define the class, right? So here also I use the internal CSS, all right? Then I use the style tag, all right? The style, and then the class definition. Say dot, say class is center or whatever class, right? So I see center, all right? And then I can set the CSS properties. Say color. I use say color is blue. Then say uh, the background color, background, background dash color. So let's say yellow, and then set the border, border. Say border is say 2 pixel, and then it may be dotted or solid or whatever style, dotted, and then the border is red in color. Right? Okay. Then I save this, and now I add this class to the level 1 heading. All right. So in here, there's attribute called class, and then I add this center to the level 1 heading. All right. Okay. Now I refresh the web page. Then these CSS properties are applied to the level 1 heading. Right. So at the same time, I can add this class into the paragraph element. All right. So class is say center. All right. Okay. Then if you want, you can add the same class for the next paragraph as well. All right. Okay. Like this. Right. Like this, we can use this class attribute in CSS. Right. So yeah, if you want, you can align text align as center, right? Say uh, text say align this is center because this is center align class like this. or you can justify or whatever, right? So that's about the class attribute. Then next one, right? So in class attribute, we can specify that only specific HTML element should be affected by the class. That means we can define a particular class, right? So only for the specific elements in HTML, right? So for example, let's see, I want to define a class only for the paragraphs. Paragraphs. So let's see how to define that kind of class. So here we can start the class using that particular element, say p dot center. All right, so then this class is applicable to the only to the paragraph. All right, so in here even we set this center class as attribute of level 1 heading. So these properties or this class is not affected to the uh, level 1 heading. All right, so let's see. All right, so I define the same class. Right, so here I take the different web page, same web page using the different file name, right? So I open this, again I have got the same web page, and then I open the source code, the same source code. Okay, then I define the same class. All right, so for the time being I copied from the earlier one, right? All right, so for time saving I copied this one. Yeah, no, I'm going to write, right? Okay. So because here the style name starting from the HTML element, right? So here also I use the internal CSS. All right. Now I'm going to define class for the paragraph. Then I use p dot center. All right. P dot center. Then I use the same properties that I have used in the earlier one, right? Okay. Okay, then the color is blue, and then the say text align to center, and then say the background color is say yellow, and then I use the say border is say 2 pixel, and then say solid, and then say red border color. Okay, now then I add this class attribute into the level 1 heading. See, class is center, right? Then I add the same class to the next attribute. Say into the paragraph element. Class is a center. Alright. Then I add the same attribute to the next paragraph as well. Okay, then I save this, right? So I have add this class attribute to level 1 heading and the two paragraphs. Then I refresh this, save, refresh. Now you can see, all right? So even I add this class attribute to the level 1 heading, this is not affected to the level 1 heading because in here I define the class for the paragraph element, right? Okay, so So in class attribute, actually the HTML element can also refer more than one class, right? So earlier we used the same class in multiple HTML elements, right? So now in one particular HTML element, we can refer more than one classes, right? So in P element will style according to the class sentence large. Then I define the center class, and then I define the large class, right? So here in P element will be styled according to the center and large class. So let's see how can we uh, set those two classes in one particular HTML, right? So as previous, right? So I set the center class to the level 1 edit. Now you know this, right? So this is not affected because this class is defined to the paragraph tag. And then here I add the center class to the paragraph. So this is affected, right? That means these style are applied to this particular paragraph. Then in next paragraph, I add these two classes in this paragraph. All right, so these two classes are affected to the this particular paragraph, right? Okay, then let's see how to do this in example, right? So I copied this same paragraph, CSS style with this style tag, right? So now I got this web page, right? This 4.html, the same web page, right? Then I open the source code of this web page, right? Then I add this style class with the style element, right? So this is internal CSS. Now this is center class. So then I define another class. So that is called p.say large, or say p. Say let's see, this is center one, and then next one is center two, right? So center 2. In center 2 class, I define some additional CSS properties, say font family, say font family is say caramel, all right. So here we have the font color, alignment, background color, border. So in here I define the font family. Right, so if you want, we can define some other attributes as CSS properties as well, right? So for the time being, I set the font family, and then I add this center class in here, say class equals center. So in here, I add the same class is center. All right, so in here, I set the center class as well as center 2 actually. So this is center 1. So sorry for that. Here center 1. This is 1. Here I had both classes, center 1 and center 2. And I refresh. So here save and refresh. Now you can see, right? In second paragraph, so font family is changed. Font family is changed to the Garaman, right? So because in a second class or center 2 class I defined font family, then these paragraph affected by center 1 and center 2, both classes, right? So that's it, right? So you can see this font color is change. Also the family is change, right? Okay, so if you want, you can remove the background color from the first one and then put into the second one, all right? And save this, refresh. Now the font color is blue. So in the both paragraphs, font color is blue because center one is uh, uh, set to both paragraphs, and then text align is center. All right. So here background color and the font family is additional attribute in center two. Then center two is affected to the paragraph number two. Right. Okay. So likewise, we can refer more than one classes in one particular HTML element. All right. So we can refer more than one class. All right. So then next one is the comparison between ID versus class. Right. Actually, we use the ID attribute to the single HTML element, whereas the class to group of elements. That means the ID to address single element, and then class to address a group of elements. All right. Okay. So like this, right? So in here I have my header ID, right? So in here we have background color and the color of the font and the padding, right? Padding and the text alignment. So we discuss the padding in HTML tables, right? And then I had the class for called faculty. Say background color is tomato, color is white, and padding is 10 pixels. You know what is meant by padding, right? So padding means the distance between the border, the margin, and the content, right? And then I set the my header to the level 1 heading and the faculty to the H2. So this particular heading and the next heading and all the level 2 headings, right? Okay, so let's see this one in say in example, right? So here I have another web page called say 5.html. Yeah, in here I have uh, level 1 heading, level two headings with three paragraphs, right? Then I open the source code. So next one, this one. Okay, now I define the two. One is ID, the other one is class, right? So I use the uh, internal CSS, right? Close the style, and then the first one is my heading, all right? My heading. Say next one is, say the properties are, say color is blue. Say okay, I'll change the color to say maroon, right? So I use the hexadecimal number system. So this is the maroon color, and then they say the background, say background color, say yellow, and then say the font family, say Arial. Okay, so that's for the level 1 heading. And then next one for the level 2 heading, I use the class, say faculty. Then they say the color is white, right? Or in hexadecimal, white means uh, uh, hexadecimal white means red is maximum, green is maximum, RGB, blue is maximum. All right. Then they say the background color, back, sorry, ground color, say tomato. And then next one is a font family. Say font family is caramel. Okay. Then I add this level 1 heading. I use this is ID, say heading ID, say my heading. My heading. So my heading is effective to the level 1 heading. Then the faculty class using level 2 heading. This is faculty. Alright, so same class is used in level 2 heading. Save this. And now you can see, I will press this here. Level 1 heading is affected by my heading ID, and then level 2 is affected by faculty class. So that's the difference between the heading or the ID and the class. Alright, so ID adjusts to the one particular HTML element or one place, right, one element, and the faculty or the faculty class is affected to the more than one elements, right? So even we can use the faculty elements in paragraph tag as well, right? So that's the usual thing, right? So ID always address the one element, and then the class address the uh, group of elements, right? Okay. Then next one is universal selector. Universal selector. Then the universal selector represented by asterisk symbol select all the HTML element on the web page. All right. So that means the CSS rule under the universal selector affect every HTML element on the web page. Right. So let's see how to use universal selector. So this is how we use the universal selector. So here we put asterisk, and then we can define CSS properties, right? Then we can add this universal selector to the web page, right? Okay, then I use the another example, say 6 so I put the same web page, all right? Okay, this one. Okay, so in here I define universal selector inside the internal CSS. So I define the internal CSS using the style tag. So this is how we define the universal selector, right? So put the asterisk symbol and the block opening and closing curly bracket. Then I define the CSS properties in universal selector. Say font family. say caramel, and then the color is say blue. Okay, now you can see, right? So these properties are applied to all the elements in the web page, right? So these properties, these CSS properties, considered as universal selector, right? So this is universal selector. Universal means these properties are applied to the all the CSS, so all the HTML elements, right? Like this. Okay. So that's about the universal selector. And then next one is the CSS grouping selectors, right? So we have do the same thing in earlier, right? So as you in here I have H1. So this is H1 selector, H2 selector, and the paragraph selector, right? So assume all those selectors are defined same CSS properties, all right? So this can be grouped into the one particular group to minimize the uh, CSS codes. So we can group these properties like this, right? So H1, H2, P, right? So because all these properties are same, right? So now these CSS are defined to all these selectors, right? Okay, then I demonstrate this using the another example. So this is I got the same web page, all right? Okay, then let's see the internal CSS, all right? So style and then closing style. Then I define same properties for more than one HTML element. Say H1, H2, say paragraph, right? So in here I can define CSS properties. Say a color. Say color is say maroon or any color, right? So let's give maroon, right? Then the background color, say yellow, all right? Then let's say border, say 2 pixel, and then say dotted, then say blue, all right? Now, right? Now you can see the same properties are applied to the or these elements. So if you want, you can remove paragraph, right? Then the same properties are applied to level 1 and level 2, right? Level 1 and level 2 heading, right? So likewise, we can define the same set of properties for multiple HTML elements, right? So this is called grouping selectors. Grouping selectors. Okay, next one is HTML block elements. Right. So far we have defined number of block elements. All right. So in block elements, always starts on a new line and take a full width available. All right. So one block element is div element. Right. So this is new one to us. Right. So div element is block element. Right. So there are a number of block elements. Actually, we have discussed so for say level 1 heading to level 6. Right. So that is all the level, all the heading elements are block elements, and the paragraph and the form. That's all are block elements. Right. So we have not actually now you can notice that, right? So those elements always start on a new line and take up the full width available space, right? Okay. Okay, now we can see the div element, right? Div means a division, right? So particular division, right? So div used as a container for the other HTML elements, right? So we can use the div elements as a container for the other HTML elements, right? So in here, attributes are not required, but the style and class can be used. All right. So, for example, this particular division, that is level 2 heading and this particular paragraph can be considered as one particular division. Then we can define particular style for that particular division, right? So, or we can define particular class and then we can set that class inside that division, right? So you can use the both way, right? Okay, so let's see this in example, right? Okay, then I get the, okay, I take this web page, right? So this is 8 dash 8 underscore 1, right? So I take the source code of that web page. So this is the source code, right? Okay, now I'm going to define three different classes in here. So within internal CSS, right? Style, and then closing the style tag, style, right? So here I define three different classes. For first one is arts, all right? So here I use the background color, font color, all those things, right? Say first one is, say, background color, right? So I use the same properties in other classes. Say the next one is a color, font color, and then next one is a font color, background color, and the font family, right? Font family, background color, color, all right? And let's say text alignment, text align. Say all are justified, right? So I use the same set of properties for the other classes as well. Then I get copied from here and then change the class name. Then say next one is science, and then next one is say just, all right? So I use three different classes with the same set of properties, right? So this is background color for the arts, right? This is background color for the science. So this is background color for the edges, right? Okay, then the font colors, let's see here in art faculty, I say white, right? So if it is white, you know R is maximum, G is maximum, blue is maximum. And then for the science, say let's see a blue color, all right? So the R is minimum, G green is minimum, say blue is, so GB, blue is maximum. All right, so in here I use this say white color, FF, FF, FF. All right, so font family, let's see the Arial, and then let's say Calibri, and then let's say the Caramel. All right, okay, so those are the properties. So Arial, justify, Calibri, justify, Caramel, justify. So here I use the same set of properties with different values. Then what we can use, we can set those classes in our web page, right? Okay, then I take this class for the arts faculty. So this is the division for arts faculty. So I use this class in this particular division. All right, say class equal, say arts. All right, so here I close the division div. Then next one is the science faculty. Then I use the class called science. So science, and then here I close the science, and then here I use the ages as class. Ages, and then here I close the division. Okay, next one. So here only one division tag, right? Okay, so here three classes with same CSS properties with different values, right? Then I use those classes in these divisions, right? Okay, then I save this and refresh in here, right? In here, this fonts are applied, but the background color is not applied because in here I don't put this semicolon, right, in the background color. Okay, save this. Okay, now you can see, right? So all those properties are applied, right? So here font color is applied, background color is applied, right? So here font color, background color, both are applied. Here also applied, right? So here I use the three different divisions for the faculties, right? So here, right, so I explain again. Here I have three classes, right? Art, science, and art AHS with the same CSS property, right? But different values, right? In three different classes. Then I use those classes in these divisions, right? So I consider this one as one division, right? Then I add this class. So I take this one as different division than the earlier one. Then I add this class for that division. So here I consider this one as another division. Then I add this AHS for this particular division. Okay. So that's about the division tag. Okay, and then let's see the next one, right? So that's about the division tag, and then next one is CSS box model, right? So actually all HTML elements can be considered as boxes, right? So but in CSS the term called box model is used when talking about the design and the layout, right? So here in box model we have different parts we call content, which are the content of the box where text and images appear. So that's what we call content. Next one is the padding, right? So padding is the clear an area around the content, right? So usually padding is transparent. And the border is that goes to around the padding and the content, all right? And the margin means the clear an area outside the border, and the margin is also transparent, right? So here we can summarize that. So this is the content, right? So this is called border, right? So padding means the distance between the content and the border, right? And then out from the border we have margin, that is the clear area outside the border, right? So this is called some kind of a box model, right? So box model, right? So in CSS box model we can define this box model as a division, right? So let's see, background color is light gray, and then say width of the box is say 300 pixel, and then we can define the border. So this is the width of the border, and then this is the style and the border color, and then we can define the padding space, that is say 50 pixel, and then we can set the margin, right, that is out from the padding, right, out from border, sorry, out from border, and then we cross the division, right. Then we can set this box model to particular paragraph, right. So we can define this division for particular paragraph like this, right, like this we can define that a division, right. Okay, let's see this one in example. So I take these properties, right? So for the time being, I use the same code, right? So I copy this properties, right? So background color with border, padding, and margin. Then I use this example, this web page, say box model, right? So then I take the source code, okay, and then I define that division in a internal CSS style, and then inside the style tag I use this division class. All right, so here I define this division, right? So background color say light gray, and then width of the box is 300 pixel, and the padding is say 50. You can change this, right? Margin is 20, right? So you can use any uh, values, right? So let's say 300 is say 600, and say border is 10, and then let's padding keep as it is, and then margin. So this division can be used within this paragraph, right? So just I use this division tag, right? So inside this paragraph, if you want, you can define this one as a class, and then you can uh, use this class inside this paragraph tag as well, right? So for the time being I use this one as division class, and then I use this div tag inside this uh, instead of paragraph, right? Okay, now you can see. So this is the box, right? So here, so this is the content, right? So this is the padding 50, and then the border width is 10 pixel and solid, that's green in color. All right, so if you want, you can change this. Let's see, padding is 30, and then the border is say 2 pixel, and then rather than solid you can use product, right? And then rather than green we can say blue, right? Say let's say margin is 30, all right? So like this, right? So this is box model, so this is content, and then this is the padding space, right? The distance between the border and the content. So this is border, right? So this is the dotted line, and this is margin, right? So this is margin is 30. If you want you can maximize this, say 50, all right? So here margin is maximized, right? So likewise we can change, actually here I put that padding is 50. Right, so you can, if you want, you can change this padding is say 20, and then the margin is 50. Right, so then let's see. Right, so now you can see margin is 50 and then padding is 20. Likewise you can change these things. All right, so that's about the box model. And then next one is inline element, HTML inline elements, right? So an inline element does not start on a new line like block elements, right? So only take up the much width as necessary, all right? So for example, so a span is inline element, and the anchor tag is inline element, and image img tag is inline element, right? So let's see how to use span, right? So span also used as a container for some text, right? So this is used as a container for some text, right? So span element has no required attribute, but style and classes can be used inside the span element, right? So for example, let's see, this is our title, right? So heading, right? So my heading. So here we use the span element, right, as an inline element. So we can define style, say color is red, right? So that's about the span element, right? So you can use the span element in here, right? So here I have say Faculty of Science, University of Peradeniya, right? So inside the university, so if you want to change the formatting of university, I can use the span element, right? So span, say I can define another style, let's say the say color, say color is maroon color, say CC for 0. Then I can use say font semicolon, put semicolon. I use another attribute, another CSS property, say font family. Say font family is Garaman, semicolon. So I change the formatting of the term called university. Then I start in the span element and then close here and then close the span tag in here. Then this is applicable to the term called university, right? So if you close the span tag after the term called Peradeniya, so then this is applicable to the University of Peradeniya, like this, right? So that's about the span element. Okay, the next one is rounded corner. All right, actually, uh, in in our classes we have a attribute called border radius. So you know what is meant by border, right? So you know these attributes with padding, height, right? So we can set the border radius, right? So by using the border radius, we can use the rounded corner uh, within a paragraph, right? So let's see in our example. So for the time being, I copied these CSS properties with the CSS class. So this is the additional one, border radius. Then I use the sample code, so this one, rounded corner. Then I open the source code. Okay. So I use this uh, ID in style tag. So I use the internal CSS, right? So in here, right? So here I define the internal CSS, right? This one, right? So here I use the border radius, right? Border radius. So here radius is 25. So you know what's meant by background, padding, width, and height. So that's about the box, all right? and then I use this border inside this paragraph. Say ID is say round R corner, R corners 1. Okay, so I have to use the same name, then refresh. Okay, now you can see, right? So this is rounded corner. So if you decrease the corner radius, yeah, this is decrease. If you want, you can increase. Right, so 35. This corner is increase. Right, so likewise, we can use these properties in our web pages. Right, so you can do these things more and more, and then you can get experience with this. Right, okay. So if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask from myself. Okay, thank you very much.